The large skeletons were connected with the head of one touching the tail of the other, coincidentally forming a circular loop that encircled this plains. This enormous stone altar was coincidentally at the middle of this circle. While Ziyan's eyes were observing the bones below with shock, Xiao Yan's group had also noticed this point. Immediately, they inhaled a deep breath of cold air. Their voice began to be emitted one after another. Ancient void dragon, ancient heaven phoenix. These ultimate magical beasts that basically only existed in the legends had actually appeared in this kind of place. Although they were only a set of bones, it was already sufficient to cause one's heart to be shaken. No wonder the dragon phoenix origin fruit is born. An ancient void dragon and an ancient heavenly phoenix had actually died here, Xiao Yan muttered. The ancient void dragon and the ancient heavenly phoenix are all the ultimate existences within the magical beast world. However, the two are completely incomparable. They would fight wherever they meet. I think that the both of them had ended up dying in this place from injuries after experiencing a big battle. Ziyan opened her mouth and said, "However, the life force of the ancient heavenly phoenix is clearly inferior to that of the ancient void dragon. Otherwise, the heaven phoenix aura should be the dominant one in this beast spiritual barrier." Xiao Yan nodded slightly. He looked towards Ziyan and asked, "What do you plan to do now?" This so-called dragon phoenix origin fruit was obviously an extremely important thing. It was something that Xiao Yan had never even heard of despite his experience. Hence, he was also unaware of what should be done now. I must definitely bring this dragon phoenix origin fruit away. Otherwise, should the heaven demon phoenix obtain it, they will be able to evolve into a true ultimate beast that possessed both the bloodline of a dragon and a phoenix. At that time, the ancient void dragon tribe would be threatened. Ziyan's small face was grave as she spoke. Xiao Yan's expression also became serious when he heard this. He was obviously on bad terms with the heaven demon phoenix tribe. The stronger the latter's strength was, the more disadvantageous it would be to him. "Take it quickly." Ziyan nodded. She swiftly turned around and was about to act when the expression on her face changed. She sensed an intense ripple suddenly being formed in this space. Soon after, numerous auras entered it at the same time. This unexpected change was naturally also sensed by Xiao Yan's group. Immediately, their eyes followed the source of the fluctuation and glanced over. Their hearts sunk. A crack line was being torn open on the beast spiritual barrier. Immediately, a group of people charged in fiercely. If one was to carefully look at them, they were surprisingly the members of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. Feng Qing'er and the rest, who had barged into this place, swept their somewhat lost eyes all around them. After which, their eyes were paused on the altar at the middle of the plains. Due to them currently being high up in the air, they were able to immediately see the dazzling strange fruit on the altar. Their expressions immediately became dull. Dragon Phoenix origin fruit? The dullness lasted for an instant before a scream that was filled with extremely shock suddenly resounded over the place. The expression of the white-haired man beside Feng Qing'er suddenly changed upon hearing this scream. His eyes were startled as he looked at the top of the altar. An extremely wild and violent heated expression surged into his eyes. After hearing Feng Qing'er's scream, Ziyan's small face became cold as she withdrew her hand. Attempting to remove the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit required a complicated procedure. If they did not send away these unwanted guests, it was likely that she would be unable to calmly remove the fruit. "Who?" Xiao Yan also exhaled gently. His eyes looked at the group that had barged in and softly said, "Prepare to fight." Xiao Yan's heart was clearly aware that since Feng Qing'er's group had also recognized the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit, they would definitely not easily give it up. A bloody battle was unavoidable. Everyone also slowly nodded when they heard this. Xiong Zhan rubbed his large fist, parted his mouth and laughed ferociously. "It's just as well. Perhaps it is because of the bloodline in my body, but the old me also see these bird fellows as extremely unpleasant. Xiao Yan, immediately bring your people and leave the altar. Else, all of you shall be buried here today." Feng Qing'er's eyes were cold and sharp as she cried out in a deep voice. Xiao Yan glanced at her before completely ignoring her. His eyes swept over the other party's group and involuntarily frowned slightly. This group of theirs not only had Lei Zunjia from the Wind Lightning Pavilion, but there was also the tribe leaders of the Great Earth Tiger tribe and the Silver Moon Wolf tribe whom Xiao Yin had met on the mountaintop back then. These two people were also genuine two-star Dozun. Moreover, other than these two people, there was also that white-haired man and a black-robed elder. Xiao Yin had already met the former and had only just discovered the latter. However, the strength of this elder was clearly quite strong. That hidden aura was likely not weaker than anyone else. In this way, just this group of theirs would have 5 Dozun class experts. This lineup could be considered frightening. 5 Dozuns. Xiao Yin rubbed his finger gently. He counted a little before sighing in relief. This lineup was indeed quite strong, but if his side added the Sky Demon puppet and the 10 puppets he had just obtained, they would be able to block 6 Dozuns. Although the other party still possessed quite a number of experts at the peak of the Dozon class, they were not considered heavyweights. Little girl, your tone is really arrogant. If you wish to snatch something, you should first get past this old me. Xiongzhan laughed ferociously. He let out a roar towards the sky and his body swelled rapidly. In an instant, he had become a 10-meter-tall large man. A fierce or spread immediately caused some of the experts below the Dozun class to have a slight change in expression. So it's an ancient dragon bear. You actually dare to act arrogantly by relying on just a little dragon bloodline. You really overestimate yourself. The white-haired man glanced faintly at the large Xiongzhan and laughed coldly. What about this? The cold voice had just sounded when Little Fairy Doctor and Tianhua Zunjia stepped forward in Yuzhan. They appeared in the midair away from the altar. The vast and mighty aura of being at the peak of the 3-star Dozun class swept out without restraint, causing this entire space to fluctuate slightly. Humph, do you really think that our side doesn't have any Dozuns? Seeing this, Lei Zunjia let out a cold laughter. He stepped forward together with the tribe leaders of the Great Earth Tiger and the Silver Moon Wolf tribes. Majestic aura spread out in an uncompromising manner. In an instant, the atmosphere of this entire place became extremely tense. Xiao Yin was expressionless. He glanced at the ferocious aura of Lei Zunjia's group, after which he flickered his finger and the dark golden sky demon puppet appeared. He subsequently waved his hand again. 10 Earth Demon puppet appeared in midair. Gold and silver light crossed each other, causing one's eyes to feel a little piercing pain. The 11 puppets had just appeared when the faces of Lei Zunjia's group involuntarily twitched slightly. The might of the 10 puppets was something that they had personally witnessed before entering the remains. The combination of those 10 puppets could fight against a 2-star Dozun. Today, I shall see just who can snatch the thing from this altar. Xiao Yan's figure slowly rose into the air. Purple-brown flames surged out from his body in all directions. Immediately, it gathered in the air above him and formed a large fire dragon. The roar of the fire dragon shook the entire place. Feng Qing'er's expression changed slightly when she sensed Xiao Yan's unusually powerful aura. She gritted her teeth. There was an unwillingness to accept this in her eyes. When she had met Xiao Yan back then, the latter was completely unable to be compared with her. However, after only having not met him for a short couple of years, the latter had already tossed her far behind him. Wave after wave of vast and mighty aura spread over the sky. The aura of nearly 10 elite Dozuns erupted at that same time. This spectacular scene caused some of the Wind Lightning Pavilion's experts to be stunned. They had never seen this kind of scene. The white-haired man's icy cold eyes stared at Xiao Yin in the midair. Looking in terms of aura alone, their side was clearly somewhat at a disadvantage. Xiao Yan's group might not be large in numbers, but all of their auras were quite powerful. It was extremely difficult to deal with them. Elder Huangxian, it looks like we can only invite you to intervene this time around. The white-haired man inhaled a deep breath of air. His eyes suddenly turned towards the black-robed old man, who had ultimately never uttered a single word, and spoke respectfully. The black-robed elder nodded gently. His eyes looked towards the distant top of the altar. Those deep eyes of his contained a fiery heat leaping within. He muttered, Dragon Phoenix Origin Fruit. Cuckoo, it seems that the heavens really wish to bless our tribe. We have actually met such a legendary mysterious item in such a place. The The black-robed old man slowly took a couple of steps forward after his laughter sounded. After he stepped forward, the obscure, majestic aura suddenly soared. By the time he took his fourth step, that aura of his had actually broke through to the 5-star Dozun level. Younger generation, the old me can still allow all of you to leave alive if you go away now. The faint voice of the black-robed old man was just like the furious thunder of the heavens. It shook this entire space until it trembled. 5-star Dozun. Xiao Yan's group had a somewhat ugly expression as they stared at this black-robed elder. Their hearts sunk slightly. Unexpectedly, this seeming inconspicuous old man would actually be the strongest amongst those from the Heaven Demon Phoenix Tribes group. No wonder that Feng Qing'er had such confidence. This old fellow has hid very deeply. What should we do now? Tian Huazunjia frowned slightly. His eyes looked towards Xiao Yan. The gap between every star within the Dozun class was extremely great. This Wang Xian had turned the situation around by just revealing himself. What else can we do? Even if we have to destroy this kind of mysterious item, we must not leave it for them. Xiao Yan laughed coldly and said, "Moreover, just a 5-star Dozun does not have the qualification to force me back." Xiao Yan's final sentence was not hidden in any way. It was directly spread by being accompanied by the wild wind. Stubborn fellow. In that case, just remain here. The black-robed old man shook his head. That dead tree-like face of his gradually turned densely cold. With his 5-star Dozun strength, it was sufficient for him to overlook everyone present. Although he did not wish to fight, the other party could not blame him for being vicious given that they refused to take his kind offer. Attack, do not leave any one of them alive. The dense voice of the black-robed old man had caused this entire place to be filled with a monstrous, murderous aura. The eyes of Lei Zunjia's group immediately revealed a fierce glint when they heard those dense words of the black-robed old man. Leave that black-robed old man to the sky demon puppet. A chillness also surged within Xiao Yan's eyes. The most troublesome person to deal with in the other party was the black-robed old man. As long as they subdued him, the others were not worthy of their worry. Xiao Yan formed a mysterious hand seal after his words sounded. The spiritual strength between his brows also spread. Following the spreading of his spiritual strength, the 10 earth demon puppet in the midair also shifted their footsteps. Within the short blink of an eye, the formation that had been displayed outside of the large hall earlier was once again formed. This kind of formation was extremely mysterious. It could temporarily add the strength of the other puppets onto the puppet at the center of the formation. Fortunately, Xiao Yan had also successfully obtained the secret of this kind of formation when he was obtaining the control of these puppets. Hence, he did not panic when using it. Ha! A cry was emitted from within Xiao Yan's throat. The sky demon puppet moved and rushed into the formation. Immediately, bright silver light surged out from within the 10 puppets and continued to flow towards the sky demon puppet amongst them. Attack! The expression of the black-robed elder involuntarily sunk when he saw this action of Xiao Yan. He had also witnessed the uniqueness of this puppet formation earlier. Immediately, he let out a sharp cry. Lei Zunjia and the rest also nodded heavily upon hearing this. Their feet stomped on the ground, and their bodies transformed into numerous light figures that rushed towards the altar. In an instant, rumbling, rushing wind sound continued to resound across this entire place. You should first pass through the old me if you wish to snatch anything. Xiong Zhan howled furiously when he saw everyone rushing over in a shocking manner. He stomped his foot on the ground, and the land trembled at this moment. Humph! It is rumored that the dragon bear possessed the ability to destroy the mountains and split the ground. Allow the old me to have a taste of it today. The chief of the great earth tiger laughed coldly as a deafening tiger roar suddenly sounded. Immediately, his body directly turned into a ray of light that rushed towards Xiong Zhan. Watch this, father of your burst you head with a punch. A ferocious expression surfaced on Xiong Zhan's face. He clenched his large fist. After which, it became like a rampaging tank that collided heavily with the great earth tiger chief without backing off. Immediately, a frightening wind swept apart like a storm. Leave that Lei Zunjia to me. Little fairy doctor looked at the intense big battle that had erupted almost immediately. Her pretty eyes also looked towards Lei Zunjia, who was charging over with a bright lightning glow. She let out a soft cry, and her lovely body came rushing out. After which, she stopped Lei Zunjia in the midair. Her hand was waved, and a gray fog spread out in all directions. "Leave that chief of the Silver Moon Wolf tribe to me. Xiao, that person from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe will be left for you to handle." Tianhua Zunjia also moved. He directly blocked that Silver Moon tribe elite Do Zun. Vast and mighty aura spread and directly caused the expressions of those behind to change. Xiao also nodded slightly as he watched the battlegrounds that were swiftly being formed. He glanced at the white-haired man, who was walking over through the air. A cold smile surfaced on his face. "Qing Air, you should have sensed the strangeness of this place, no?" The black-robed old man swept his eyes over the entire area before suddenly turning his head and speaking towards Feng Qing Air. Feng Qing Air's eyes flickered slightly. She sensed a little before a joy rushed into her eyes. She nodded quickly and said, "Elder, please be rest assured. Leave it to me. Yes, whether we can successfully obtain the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit will depend on you." The black-robed old man nodded. Immediately, he waved his sleeve and rushed out like a huge bird. The mighty aura of a 5-star Do Zun was completely erupted at this moment. The sky and land changed because of it. Chi! Bright lights surged and were poured into the body of the sky demon puppet. Following the pouring in of such a great amount of energy, the dark gold color of the sky demon puppet involuntarily became deeper. Roar! A dry, low roar was suddenly emitted from the throat of the sky demon puppet after a final ray of silver light poured into its body. Those empty eyes belonging to it had already been permeated by golden light. It raised its head and looked at the black-robed elder rushing over. His legs stomped on the empty air, and this empty space immediately crumbled into countless number of dark black crack lines. Those 10 earth demon puppet behind had turned into an ordinary metal color at this moment. Clearly, all of their energy had been drained. Humph, a mere puppet is actually also thinking to stopping the old me. The black-robed old man laughed coldly as he looked at the sky demon puppet, which had transformed into a golden light. His fist was clenched, and he threw a punch without any fancy move. Clang! The two collided with a bang. Frightening sonic wave spread throughout the sky. Some of the Do Zone class experts immediately felt their throat becoming sweet. A shocked expression quickly covered their faces. This was merely the remnant wave from the battle. Yet, they were already unable to endure it. A battle at this level was really too frightening. Both fists collided. The black-robed elder's body shook. He looked at the sky demon puppet, which had taken 2 steps back. His eyes were exceptionally gloomy. Although he could suppress this puppet, the frightening strength of the latter caused even him to quietly be shocked. A puppet was actually able to reach this level. How unbelievable. During the time that the black-robed old man and the sky demon puppet were engaging in an earth-shaking big battle, the white-haired man had also appeared in the air above the altar. His eyes were sinister as he stared at Xiao and laughed. "Xiao, today, I shall let you see what it means by there is always someone greater. You still do not have the qualification to dominate the younger generation." The white-haired man stepped across the air. A fierce aura spread across the sky. From the looks of his strength, he was actually a 2-star Do Zun. He was indeed 1 star stronger than Xiao. The white-haired man suddenly clenched his fist after the loud laughter sounded. Bright golden light surged. A golden light fist seal that was hundreds of feet large was formed in a lightning-like fashion, after which it carried an incomparably overbearingness and rushed towards Xiao on the altar like a thunderbolt. Low and deep sound of air being blasted apart was being emitted wherever the fist passed. Heaven Phoenix Tyrant Punch. Xiao body moved as he looked at the frightening fist that came rushing over from the sky. He also appeared in the midair. Seals were swiftly being changed with his hands. A palm print also appeared with lightning-like speed. Overturning land seal. The bright palm seal surfaced on Xiao palm, after which it suddenly rushed out and violently collided with the golden light fist of the white-haired man. Immediately, a A frightening storm swept apart amidst an intense explosion. Bang! The wind spread. Xiao Yan's shoulders merely shook before he resolved the force. He raised his head towards the white-haired man in the sky and spoke faintly, "I am not qualified to dominate. You are not qualified either. I will just see how tough your mouth will be when I beat you down later." The white-haired man laughed coldly. A fierce glint flashed within his eyes. His back shook and a pair of phoenix wings spread. The phoenix wings were flapped, and its speed suddenly rose in multiples. It had appeared in front of Xiao Yan in a flash. An overbearing fist technique poured out without being held back. A cold glint flickered within Xiao Yan's eyes when faced with the white-haired man's storm-like attack. Vast and mighty Do Qi was swiftly being circulated within his body. Purple-brown flame was just like fire clothes on the surface of his body. Each time the white-haired man unleashed a fierce attack, it would be forcefully received by him in the most direct head-on method. A mere 2-star Do Zun still did not have the qualification to force Xiao Yan to withdraw. Bang, bang, bang. Two figures in the sky directly began the most intense and cruel physical battle. Fist met flesh. Frightening wind would cause the surrounding air to collapse during each exchange. A sharp rushing wind sound continued to appear unceasingly. The white-haired man's face gradually became serious following this extremely barbaric fight. His actual body was that of the heaven demon phoenix, and he possessed an extremely strong physical body. However, Xiao Yan did not feel any discomfort when colliding head-on with him. Instead, Xiao Yan became increasingly fierce as he fought. It was as though the strength of the latter's physical body was not inferior of his. "I do not believe that you, a mere human, would actually dare to compete with me, a heaven demon phoenix, in terms of the strength of the physical body." A fierceness flashed within the white-haired man's eyes. His palm wind suddenly became extremely sharp. Xiao Yan still did not withdraw in the face of this fierce attack by the white-haired man. His eyes also took the opportunity to continuously sweep around him when they exchanged blows. His eyes suddenly hardened a moment later. The spot where Xiao Yan's eyes had become focused was the spot where Feng Qing'er was located. At this moment, she was biting her finger and dripping drops of faint purple fresh blood from it. Immediately, the blood was suspended in front of her. Feng Qing'er's face was grave as she looked at the blood. Her finger was dyed with it, after which it began to draw gently in front of her. A moment later, a mysterious symbol appeared in the sky. The moment this symbol appeared, it was as though there was a faint phoenix cry resounding over this entire place. This phoenix cry might be extremely faint, but it caused the souls of Xiao Yan's group to tremble violently when it fell into their ears. Using blood as a contract as a seal, summoning the ancestor soul, Feng Qing'er respectfully knelt in the sky. After her words sounded, that symbol suddenly emitted a bright light. This light poured down from the sky before slowly landing on the bright red plains. Bang! The land suddenly trembled at this moment. Immediately, everyone were shocked to see that the heaven phoenix bones on the plains had actually began to slowly move at this moment. With the wiggling of these bones, a desolate aura that originated from the ancient times began to suddenly spread. The Do Qi that was circulating within the bodies of Xiao Yan's group suddenly began unusually sluggish. This is the remnant strength of the ancient heaven phoenix. The faces of Xiao Yan's group immediately changed upon sensing the great strength of this aura. There was no need to beckon them. All of them hurriedly left their own battlegrounds and withdrew towards the altar. Their faces were exceptionally ugly. This desolate aura slowly rose. Finally, it wrapped around the body of Feng Qing'er in the sky. Her delicate body shook and a golden glow flickered within her eyes. She lifted her hand and a majestic golden light, along with a frightening energy that could destroy the world, rushed towards Xiao Yan's group on the altar. In the face of this frightening energy, the hearts of Xiao Yan's group also sunk abruptly. However, just when they were prepared to attack together, a delicate little figure slowly appeared in front of them. Her calm voice erupted into a kind of pressure that was even more terrifying than that of the ancient Heaven Phoenix at this moment. Heaven Phoenix Ancestral Soul Ha. Unfortunately, this ancient void dragon ancestral soul of mine seems to be a little stronger. The golden light arrived from all directions, after which it suddenly dissolved when it was within 100 feet radius around that lovely little figure. In an instant, that destructive strength disappeared. Xiao Yan's group revealed a shocked expression as he looked at the lovely small figure in front of him. They could suddenly sense a kind of undescribable, frightening pressure from within her body. Compared to this pressure, the ancient heaven phoenix earlier was undoubtedly much inferior. Both of them had summoned their own remnant ancestor soul. Tianhua Zunjia spoke with surprise. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. His eyes looked at the enormous bones on the plains, and his heart was slightly shaken. It was unexpected that this ancient void dragon and ancient heaven phoenix would actually possess such a frightening energy despite having been dead for so many years. It seemed that these two big fellows were at least at the Doshang class when they were alive. Ancient void dragon? Ziyin, who had suddenly appeared, and the ancestor soul that she had summoned immediately caused a shocked expression to surge up the face of the black-robed old man. At this moment, they finally abruptly remembered that in order for Xiao Yan's group to enter this beast's spiritual barrier, there must definitely be someone leading the way. Other than the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, the only ones who could open this beast's spiritual barrier was the ultimate being in the magical beast, the ancient void dragon. However, the ancient void dragon was really too rarely seen. Hence, they had initially thought that Xiao Yan's group had used some unknown method. With this sudden appearance of Ziyin, they had suddenly understood that Xiao Yan's lineup actually hid a true ancient void dragon. Don't panic. This ancient void dragon is still a child. The eyes of the black-robed old man flickered rapidly. He saw the panic on everyone's faces before the corner of his eyes twitched as he spoke in a deep voice. Qing Air, attack. Use the ancestor soul to kill her. After uttering those earlier words, the black-robed old man's eyes suddenly turned towards Feng Qing Air in the sky and cried sternly. The faces of Lei Zunjia and the others involuntarily trembled when they heard that the black-robed old man actually wished to attack and kill an ancient void dragon. It was likely that no one would not feel a fear within their hearts when it came to this mysterious and powerful tribe. If the ancient void dragons were to discover that their tribe member had died in their hands, it was likely that they would be faced with the threat of annihilation. While these people were feeling a panic within their hearts, Feng Qing Air in the sky nodded with a cold and indifferent expression. With the help of the ancient demon phoenix ancestral soul, she currently did not possess any fear. Feng Qing Air clenched her hand. Bright golden light surged out from within her body. Immediately, a punch was thrown. One could hear a clear phoenix cry resounding over the place. A golden light heaven phoenix was swiftly being formed. It flapped its enormous wings and the entire sky shook because of it. That aura was extremely shocking. The golden phoenix flapped its wings after being formed before it blotted out the sun and rushed towards everyone on the altar. Under its enormous shadow, everyone truly sensed their inability to resist it. This kind of strength was really too powerful. Faced with such a frightening attack, Ziyin, whose body was covered by a purple light, took 2 slow steps forward. Her small hand faced the giant golden phoenix across some distance before clenching violently. With this clench, Xiao Yan's group immediately sensed that this entire place became dim. Soon after, the empty space collapsed. 1,000 feet large dark black empty hole appeared in the sky. That darkness, which was so deep that it could even swallow spiritual strength, caused one's heart to turn cold. Roar! This plan of Ziyin was just like a great mountain pressing downwards. It trapped the golden phoenix within the collapsed space. The latter struggled with all of its strength. That bright golden light being continuously emitted was just like a sun. Break! Feng Qing Air's face revealed a paleness when she sensed the situation of the golden phoenix. A mouthful of fresh blood that contained some purple color was spat out. This mouthful of fresh blood was directly sent across space. Within a flash, it had adhered onto the body of the golden phoenix. This blood strength that had suddenly arrived appeared to be like fuel being added onto a flame. It caused the golden light on the body of the golden phoenix to suddenly soar. The golden light was bright as the phoenix flapped its wings and escaped the collapsed space, transformed into a golden light and violently shot towards the altar. Faced with the golden phoenix that was trying to escape from the collapsed space, Ziyin once again raised her small hand. An enormous purple light pillar shot out from her palm. The light pillar became distorted and swiftly transformed into an enormous ancient void dragon. It roared towards the sky as it bare its fangs and collided violently towards the golden phoenix. Immediately, the dragon's body was twisted and it became just like a huge python that was firmly entangled with the enormous body of the golden phoenix. Bang! Ziyin's small face was icy cold. Her small hand was spread. Immediately, it was clenched violently. Crack! After it clenched its hand, the large body of that ancient void dragon began to violently shake. A frightening force that could annihilate the heavens and earth directly shattered the golden phoenix into pieces of gold-colored light clusters. Grug! The face of Feng Qing'er became ghastly white when the golden phoenix was shattered. A mouthful of fresh blood was involuntarily spat out. Her body staggered backwards, and the golden light in her eyes swiftly scattered. The ancestral soul strength disappeared with lightning-like speed. The ancestor soul had been completely shattered. Feng Qing'er's eyes were shocked as she raised her head. She looked at the delicate little body in the distant sky. The ancestral soul that was called invincible in the ancestral books had actually met with such a miserable defeat after she had summoned it with great difficulty. The heart of the black-robed elder also sunk when he saw the golden light scattering from Feng Qing'er's eyes. His mouth quietly let out a bitterness. Who could have expected that Xiao Yan's group would actually have an ancient void dragon hidden amongst them? Moreover, the ancient void dragon was clearly the stronger ancestral soul that remained within this beast's spiritual barrier. Elder Huang, what should we do? Lei Zunjia's group hurriedly asked while feeling an unease rose within their hearts after seeing that Feng Qing'er, who had acted mightily earlier, being defeated in such a miserable manner. The eyes of the black-clothed old man flashed. A moment later, he suddenly clenched his teeth and said, "Leave." Elder Huang Xian, that is the dragon phoenix origin fruit. That white-haired man unwilling said when he heard this. So what if it is? Can you get it? That black-robed old man's expression was dark and solemn as he demanded. The white-haired man was dull. The overall strength of Xiao Yan's group was not inferior to them. Now that they had the additional help of the ancient void dragon, their side had already fell into a disadvantage. How could they still snatch the dragon phoenix origin fruit? Leave quickly. They will ultimately have to leave this beast's spiritual barrier. At that time, they will not have the help of the ancient void dragon's ancestral soul. We will have plenty of opportunities. The black-robed old man was decisive. After knowing that the situation was bad, he immediately waved his hand and swiftly pulled back. Lei Zunjia's group also hurriedly followed upon seeing this. We will allow all of you to be free for a little longer. The white-haired man clenched his teeth unwillingly. However, he was also aware of the current situation. Hence, all he could do was to look at the altar with vicious eyes before pulling back. Humph! Ziyin let out a cold snort when she saw that these people were planning to leave. She threw a punch across the space, only to hear a rumbling muffled sound. A dark black spatial crack line spread within the empty space before directly rushing towards Feng Qing'er's group. The expression of the black-robed old man changed as he sensed the frightening wind that was rushing over in a lightning-like manner. The dou qi within his body suddenly erupted. He turned his body and threw a violent punch out. The punch collided heavily with the spatial crack line that was rushing towards him. Grug! The ferocious collision directly caused the black-robed old man to feel a sweetness in his throat. His body flew rapidly backwards. Immediately, a crack line appeared within the beast's spiritual barrier, absorbing him out of the place. Leave quickly. A hoarse voice was hurriedly being transmitted into the ears of Feng Qing'er and the rest while the black-robed old man borrowed the momentum to throw himself out of the beast's spiritual barrier. Seeing that the black-robed old man failed to even receive a single blow from Ziyin at this moment, the expression of Lei Zunjia's group also became extremely ugly. They basically tried to flee out of the crack line with all their effort. That manner appeared extremely miserable. Xiao Yan's group involuntarily laughed as they watched the black-robed old man and the rest fleeing like dogs, which had just lost their homes. Immediately, their eyes were filled with shock as they looked at Ziyin. This ancient void dragon was indeed extraordinary. Just a remnant ancestral soul was actually able to be this powerful. Humph! Ziyin's body trembled after the last person fled from the beast's spiritual barrier. The purple light on her body swiftly disappeared. Her small face was also extremely pale. "Are you all right?" Xiao hurriedly stepped forward and supported her upon seeing this. He took out a medicinal pill from his storage ring and stuffed it into her mouth while asking in a worried voice, "I'm fine. The ancestral soul is too powerful, and it is too much of a burden to me." Ziyin shook her head. Her expression was a little better after having swallowed the medicinal pill. However, her voice was a little hoarse. "Fortunately, that old fellow has already been injured by me. His fighting strength would at the very least be reduced by 20%. He would not be too troublesome to deal with the next time we meet him." "Yes." Xiao nodded his head slightly. He gently patted Ziyin's back and said, "Relax. That old fellow still do not possess the ability to snatch the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. They do not have the ability now, but they will definitely not give up. Once they leave the remains, they will definitely summon their experts from their tribe. I think that I should also transmit news to my clan. The Dragon Phoenix origin fruit must not land in the hands of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe no matter what." Ziyin spoke in a solemn voice. This was the first time that Xiao had seen this girl being so serious during these many years. It seemed that this Dragon Phoenix origin fruit was really extremely important to her. Yes, if the ancient Void Dragon could dispatch some experts within the tribe, the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe will likely not dare to have any bad thoughts. Xiao softly nodded and said, "You should keep the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit first. Otherwise, something unexpected may occur if we delay any longer." Ziyin nodded. She swiftly walked towards the stone platform, after which she bit her finger. She covered her hand with blood. Only then did she carefully touch the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. The Dragon Phoenix origin fruit had just came into contact with Ziyin's hand when it emitted a glaring, intense glow. Immediately, the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit actually transformed into a golden-purple color liquid that flowed within Ziyin's hand, after which it entered her body. An additional image appeared on Ziyin's palm the moment the fruit disappeared. That appearance was surprisingly the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. The energy of this thing is far too frightening. I can only temporarily seal it within my body. At that time, I must get the elders within the tribe to help deal with it," Ziyin whispered. "Since we have obtained the thing, let us leave. I wonder if we will discover the existence of the Tian Class Do technique in other areas of the remains?" Xiao laughed softly. He also had some curiosity towards that Tian Class Do technique.